So clearly none of us went on spring break because we've been watching social media and we're here. Yeah, I helped. I'm on the board for the Heartland Chamber and the Community Fest last week. The attendance was not like it usually is, and I made the comment at the board meeting and said, well, who chose spring break week, back in 2018? So, yeah, she said it wasn't, but. All right, so today I was asked about 3 years ago at Waukesha County Technical College. They brought in the industry, and they brought in HR professionals, and they brought in talent and development professionals. And we had one of the tiered rooms, and they wanted to talk about building a championship team, and they wanted to talk about generations. And I'm like, well, that's kind of boring. Are you sure you want to talk about that? And they said yes. And I thought, well, there's not going to be many people here. There was 127 that showed up, and it wasn't just for the cousin subs, And I got my eyes opened, and I gave a presentation on. At that time, they wanted me to focus on millennials, but I focused on, the different generations, and in the workforce, and and what the issues are, and they're not really issues. They are what they are. And so today, I'm going to talk a little bit on the different generations, but I'm going to go through it kind of quickly. And we're going to kind of focus at the end on the millennials and, the Generation Zs, and they've been so beat up that... but we're going to get down to what role do you all play in your team, your group, your business, your company, your community that is inhibiting us from using all the talents of all the generations, okay? And I will tell you this, every one of you is an inhibitor, including myself, because we have biases that we pick up as we come through our generation. And so that's what I want to focus on today. Because I could stand up here and just slide after slide give you the data on the generations, and it's overwhelming. And almost all of it is interpreted as negative. So I want to turn the lens today and say, it's not negative. The generation before all of you talked about you and looked at you and said, well, them, or they, and us, and we're turning around doing the same thing. So if you can leave here today with a different perspective on the generations in the workforce and a wider understanding of, are you an ally, are you an adversary when it comes to all of the generations in your workforce, okay? All right, so this side of the slide just says, I spent a lot of money on me to get a few initials behind my name. It doesn't mean I'm any good. This side of the slide says, okay, here's what I do, okay? And I spent a lot of years at Quad Graphics. Had a lot of customer focus, then went into leadership development, then did some project management, and at the end of my career there, did a lot of continuous improvement. And I've been in every region in the United States, worked with Poland, South Africa, been to Latin America, so Lima, Peru, and we brought in Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Mexico. Okay? And I don't tell you that so you can figure out how many frequent flyer miles I have. I tell you that because no matter where you go in the world, leadership is the same. It might have a different skin color. It might have a different accent. It might have different priorities. Might have a different geographic region around it. But it's the same. It comes down to people. Okay? And most of the time, people want the same thing. But how you get there is very, very different. Okay? So I left Quad in 2014, half on my own and half not on my own. It was time. It was a great run. I'm very thankful for my experience, but the universe was pulling me in a different direction. And I had finished my grad studies at Alverno and knew I needed to go somewhere else, but I just couldn't leave. I had this loyalty thing. And if I was, honest with myself, probably a little bit of fear. And in January of 2014, they said, hey, thanks for your time. And I said, thanks for the gift. And it truly was a gift. And I started my own business. And I call it Choices Coaching and Consulting because I'm a professionally certified life and leader coach. But it's all about choices. And we make them every day. And the choices you make today, you won't reap the rewards or the consequences of for another week, months, maybe years. And if I can just get us to stop each time and think about which direction we want to go, then that's a good day. Okay? And so I ventured into writing last year. Didn't want to. Still don't want to. But a friend of mine said, I think you need to write. I go, nah, that's kind of funny, Jennifer. We're not doing that. She plugged me up with a publisher, and so I authored a chapter in each of those books, and it's turned out to be a pretty good thing. I don't think I'll have a studio where I'll sit and write all the time, but so always something new and exciting. Please hold. There it is. Okay, so there's 3 parts of my business. I speak. So my next goal is an audience of 700. I hit 500 a year ago. So I just keep ramping it up. And it's been as small as 25 in the basement of someone's house with some healthcare leaders. I am a life and leader coach. My clients right now are 13 to 68. And any topic you can imagine. And then when I work with companies, it's individual and team coaching, it's leadership coaching, it's executive coaching. But it's about coaching the whole person. So when I coach executives, one gentleman said, I don't want a life coach. I want an executive coach. And I said, well, I am. He goes, no, you're a life coach. And I said, okay, here's the deal. Every leader is rooted in a person, and every person's rooted in a life. You coach the whole person. You don't coach to the position necessarily. So he didn't hire me until 3 months later. He called me and said, hey, can I buy you a cup of tea? I said, sure, but you get to come to the Lake Country area. He was from Milwaukee. We sat down, we chatted, and I said, well, I'm kind of a no-bones kind of person. Let's get to it. Why are we here today? He goes, my wife. I said, if your wife wants a coach, she's got to talk to me. He goes, no, couldn't find a coach, and every time we talked about coaches, your name came up, and she finally said, who is this woman? He goes, well, she's a life coach. And she asked me about you, and I told her, and she said, you didn't hire her? He goes, no, I need an executive coach. His wife goes, you're an idiot. So as he said, this idiot's going to hire you. So we coached for 9 months, and it worked out well. And then I'm an organization development specialist, which was the majority of my time at Quad Graphics, which basically is people, process, tools. Businesses have me come in and say, we're feeling some pain. Where are your pain points? Let's tear them apart. Let's put the process back together. What do we have? Company says we need to do Operation Reboot. 50% of our executive leadership has turned over. We're in disarray. Okay? So today you get to hear the speaker and a little bit of the coach. Okay. So here's what I'm going to tell you. There is so much information out there on the generations that when I started disagreeing with my own content. So I pulled this presentation. I've done it like 4 times in the last 3 years, but I've been changing it. And so I went out and did some research, and I'm like, well, now my presentation isn't even right. The farther you research, the more you read, you'll start contradicting. And that's what part of the issue is. There's a lot of biases in the stuff written about the generations. Okay? But what I want to focus on today is the generations and you. Okay, and how you're interacting with them or not. And it's not about right or wrong. It's about how do we embrace everything we have here and make it work for us. Okay. So here's the big change I left in. There used to be 4 generations in the workforce. Now there's 5. And so now it gets trickier. It gets complicated about relationships. And I have, by stretch, I have 4 generations in my house. And I think it's been great. My husband, who's not so into change, sometimes doesn't think it's so great. But again, we all have the same basic needs. Okay? So what is your name?
Angela.
Angela. Tell me what route you took here today.
Drove.
Yeah, but what route?
What do you mean?
What route did you take to get here?
Main Street. I drove here.
Where do you live?
Right in Delafield.
Oh, that's cheating. Okay, now, how did you get here?
I took 94 to C and
Oh, no, never mind, that's not the right way. How'd you get here?
Same route 94 to C.
You followed him?
Not quite.
Okay, that's the wrong way as well. How did you get here?
I took Glacier Pass to North Shore to 83 to lots of different roads.
Oh,
back
that's not
roads.
right either.
No.
So how did you get here when you all took the wrong route?
I don't think we took the wrong route.
Oh, I think you did. Yeah.
Trick question.
It's a
Yeah.
question.
Okay, yes, but you all got here, right? Okay, that's the point about the different generations. They all get here, but they don't come by the same route. And I could tell you, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. You should have come through Merton, jumped on 16, got off at C, come through C, speeding as you get to get here. That's the right way. So I want you all to go home that way. Okay? But don't stay at my house long. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just having a little trouble with the clicker, so don't think I don't know how to use it. But so here are the generational breakdowns. Now, before somebody goes, not right, no matter where you look, there is a 2 to 4 year difference. So because I'm doing the presentation, we're going to say today these are right. Okay? And so you can see the age groups. But look at this. Gen Alpha. They're in first grade, and some of them are newborns. That's the next generation. And if they hurry up and grow up, and if enough of these up here pass, we might still only have 5 generations, or we might have a time where we have 6 generations in the workforce. Okay? And if you look at the Gen Alpha, because things are changing so fast, they're going to have characteristics of 2 different generations, what we normally call the cuspers. Okay? So I'm a cusper. You know, I'm between the boomer and the Gen X. So a lot of charts will show 1946 to 1963, and then it'll be 1965, and the people that fall in between are what they call the cuspers, and they really don't fit in either one. Okay? So it doesn't really matter, you know, what you call them, but look, they're here, and they're everywhere. Well, what's going on?
There you go.
Okay, I'm going to just try this. All right, so what has complicated this? Well, we live longer. You know, way back in the traditionalist, you lived, you worked, you died. We live longer, and we're going to continue to live longer. There is a massive acceleration of the speed of information, the quantity of information, and the accessibility of information. You look at charter schools, you look at traditional school kindergartners. I just heard on the news, out in Utah, they're looking at tablets for 4K. It's a half-day program. Yeah. So what do you think our writing will look like in another 25 years? Will we even write?
No. They don't even teach cursive in
They said
school.
they're not already.
Yeah. So what will we do when you have to sign something? Yeah.
Fingerprint.
You go to the coffee shop and people want to sign with their finger. Yeah, and that's coming, thumbprint.
By the way, person that live longer, just so you, little information, the government changed the mortality table for life insurance a few years back from 100 to 121.
Yes, I just heard that last Saturday. 121. Can you imagine me at 121? I can't wait till 70 because that's the magic number where you no longer have to have a filter. Oh. Oh, let me tell you. Yeah, because it's 7. When I hit 70, I'm writing a book. You're all going to be in it. And I'm just going to walk down the street talking. Technology advancements. Okay, I have a Microsoft Surface laptop that is 4 months old. I just got an email that said, hey, do you want to update your technology? No, I'm pretty happy. No. The world that they grew up in is different than the world that you grew up in. It's a fact of life. The wait your turn approach no longer works. Okay? People aren't waiting their turn. It's not the way it works. If I'm qualified, I want it. Okay? And then we don't listen, we don't care, or maybe we're just scared. We're scared of the next generation. because we might lose control, we might lose position. And our biases. Okay? I could go over here and put on Christopher's glasses, and I'll tell you, they'll look great on me, but I won't be able to see you. Okay? And our biases fog our ability to see what's here, and they talk in our head. So generational friction is inevitable. Okay? Every generation before you and us had it, and every generation after us will have it. And what we need to focus on is what is elevating the tension, not focusing on why, or focusing on what elevates the tension and why that pulls us together. Okay, so what are you doing? Not necessarily what, but why are you doing that? Okay, explain to me, educate me, be curious. Okay? So yesterday's sticking points are today's resolutions. And this is a great book. Hayden Shaw talks about the different generations and the sticking points, and that's what we're going to have you talk about today, is the sticking points. But every book I have up here has something to do with leadership or generations, inhibitors, and that's why I just put them up here. If you're into reading, take a picture, take a look, read away. What's interesting, Kouzes and Posner, anybody remember these guys from 1994 to like 2000, 2001? If your company wasn't following the 5 practices of exemplary leadership, then you weren't a cool company. It was about, there's only 5 things leaders need to do. Model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart. And then they wrote a book on just encourage the heart because they found out it was so lacking. And if you hang out long enough, things come back around. And I continued to use their 5 practices, and look what's happened. It's coming back around. They're going, hey, this is a great thing. And I'm saying, hey, it's been here forever. It just lost its shine, and people wanted the next great thing. Okay. Well. So, where are we going today? Real quickly, who are they? Why do they matter? What do they need? Talk about the 12 sticking points, but how are you part of the issue? And what will you do to embrace the power of the generations? And you're going to leave here today with a couple things that you are going to do. Okay? Because if we don't start, who is? So here's what you can do. You can ignore it. You can fix it. You can cut a deal with them. And that's all about managing them. And if you look down here, the baby boomers were the last generation that responded to management. Matter of fact, with the millennials, and it's going to be that way with Gen Z, if you talk about management in the interviews, they shut down. They want leadership. They want a leader that will lead them, that will mentor them, that will guide them, that will give them feedback. Not that's going to try and change them, or as my one son says, try to make me fit in your box when I want to be in a circle. Okay? So just quickly, the Gallup. Look at these numbers. Not engaged or actively disengaged. Can you afford that? Look at the lost time on traditional approaches to performance management. A company just hired me to redo their performance management, and I said, I will not redo your performance management. We're throwing it out. We will build a growth plan. Employees, you can't tell them they're a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in ABC. Are you average? You look average, but that's a good thing. You're not quite average. We need you to work on that. Isn't that a morale booster? I think I'm fantastic. Now you tell me I'm average? I can't wait to come to work tomorrow. So Accenture is an international company. Look what they spend in hours a year on performance evaluations. That's crazy. Millennial facts. 10,000 millennials are entering the workforce daily. They're going to be 75% of the workforce in 2025. Do you think we ought to get along with them? Think we ought to know them? Yeah. By age 30, look at the number of jobs. They move around. And they're moving because we're not listening. Okay? I love this one. 33% of the companies lost 15% of their millennials in 2015. And 2015 was the year I was standing in front of 100 and some HR talent development individuals, and they go, yeah. I go, why are you losing them? Well, they won't stay. Why won't they stay? They couldn't see it. It was their fault. And I said, it's not their fault, it's your fault. Okay? And when I said it's your fault, 2 ladies packed up and left. They had to walk right down the middle of the stadium seating, didn't even look at me and left. And I thought, yeah, that's fine. But look at 68% of the hiring managers say the millennials have unique skills. Well, so do the baby boomers. So do the traditionalists. They're all unique. Okay? But look at millennials grew up and began their careers when almost every home had internet. They went through the largest decline since the Great Recession. The terrorist attacks they experienced, the effects of 20 years of offshoring jobs, Enron trading scams, corporate fraud, global warming finally was recognized, yeah, I guess this is a thing. Housing prices grew beyond people's ability to buy. And so when you look just at this, wow, we sure set the economy and the world up for them, didn't we? So if they have a chip on their shoulder, I wonder why. And it continues. Online companies exploded while the millennials were growing up. We blew up how we work. Flex time, job sharing, work from home, which is now is a thing. I call it office in a bag. You can work anywhere. Just take your bag and work. The country is divided between their beliefs and values. And we wanted the millennials to pick one side or the other. And they go, we're not going to get part of that. Way too many crazy people shooting their fellow Americans with weapons of rapid destruction. Congress becoming dysfunctional. Okay? So when you think about this again, what do we give them? Okay? So a few quick facts. If you're a millennial, and this is oozing into the Gen Zers, when they want to interview, they want a personal experience. They want you to inform them about your company and where you're going and what you're doing for the community. They want it to be convenient. So if it's a Zoom interview, they don't care. They don't believe they have to fly in or drive in for every interview. And they want to know how you care about the world and how they can fit into that. Very, very different. Things are changing. What's important about their careers? Stability is a top priority. And people say, how can that be? They keep moving. Well, they also want financial security. They want to be paid what they're worth. They want to know the company's in good standing and it's not going anywhere. And they want collaboration. They don't want this hierarchy. Okay? So think about it. Do you interview the way the next 2 generations, the millennials and the Gen Zs, want it? Okay. Are there careers? Are you offering what they need? Are you giving them what you have and what you think is right? And then look at what motivates. Absolutely a compensation package, because they saw their parents lose jobs or take a lesser job and say they were happy about it. They saw all the corporate scandal. So if you're going to hire them, you are going to pay them what they're worth by their definition and your definition. You're going to have to get into that. They want professional development, and they want it right away. None of this, okay, your benefits don't kick in for how many months, and we're not going to train you for a month. They are perpetual, lifelong learners. They want to be the best they can be for you, so you got to invest in them. And what are the opportunities for advancement? They're throwing away the corporate ladder. They talk about advancement. Leading a team is an advancement. What's here for me? So why in the world did I stay 29, almost 30 years at Quad Graphics? And I moved jobs 7 or 8 times because I had the ability to move. Okay? I did a little bit of this, but stopped. Because where I could go next is what my husband and I didn't want for our family. But I could go all over. That's what they're looking for. Do you offer that? Or do you say, in a year when you've proven yourself, no, they want to be turned loose? Who in here has a dog that they take to the dog park? Okay, so what happens when you pull in? then you put the leash on and you walk across the parking lot. You get to the dog park and they sit and they're just like, and you unleash and shoot, they're gone. These generations don't even want the leash. Let them go, but keep in touch with them. Okay? Know where they're at. And so you look at retention. They want real-time feedback. They will get work-life balance, whether you create it or not. Okay? And they want to be empowered. And they're starting to hate the word empower. We'll empower you. No, just accept me. Use me. Hear me. See me. Okay? All right, so now the Gen Zs. Oh, they're almost 30% of the population, and they just started coming into the workforce in 2012. There's a lot of them. You've seen them. That you can tell who they are. You know how you can tell? Anybody know how you can tell who they are? Yeah. They're younger than you. They're going to be 35% of the population by 2020 and $44 billion to our economy. We better wake up and pay attention. Yeah. They've been entering the workforce since 2012. And remember that other statistics with the millennials, that 83% of the hiring managers said they have unique skills? They're still saying that. And 83% of the hiring managers are now saying, we don't understand Generation Z. Well, you better start studying. And simply, why don't we just ask them? Okay? I have said forever, if we all worked on a team together, this group here, and these are our clients, if you can't sit and talk to me for 20 minutes nonstop about our clients, then you haven't done your job. If you can't sit and talk to me 20 minutes about the people on your team, then you haven't done your job because you don't know them. I should have to stop you. Okay? So, look at this. The youngest Gen Zs are still in school while the oldest are over in foreign countries fighting our wars. Okay? They're much more tolerant than us. Okay? They're also a little less risk-taking. They've seen what the millennials went through in the fallout. So they're cautious. Okay? There's less drinking and drug taking in high school because they're saying, what's the point? Okay? They're less likely to go to church and be part of organized, rigid organizations. And I'll tell you what, the millennials and the baby boomers, they are beating them up over this. They don't necessarily want to put their monies in banks. Why not? Why do they not want to put their money in banks? Yep, they saw the fallout. And I can take care of it. They're more likely to think for themselves and not follow and believe what authority figures say. Some people say, oh, it's hard to get their trust. I'm not going there yet. Okay? If you get to know them, that's the key. Less time in shopping malls and less likely to go see a movie. Okay? So here we are, the Z facts. But look at this, less focused. Why? Because in their lifetime, everything has been updating and continuously improving. They came into the world in the United States when lean and continuous improvement was like a drug, and everybody had to do it. And parents learned it at work, they brought it home, and these kids had to live it. And technology changes every 4 months, according to my laptop. Okay? So I can go spend another $2,200 and have state-of-the-art. And I'm going to sit it out at every coffee shop so everybody can see, hey, look. I don't think so. Better multitaskers, why? Because in school, they researched on a tablet. They created on a pad with a team. They went home, and while they're watching TV and doing their work, they're also talking to friends on FaceTime. So are there faces? You bet. You bet. And they twitch. I see my son, his phone. I go, relax. You know? They're bargain shoppers. Okay? They came through the recession and the fallout of 2008. They shop online and they find the best bargain. They're early starters. They are opting into the workforce and out of the tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars in educational debt. And they are now challenged at traditional schools saying, why do I need to pay for 2 years of college for classes that have nothing to do with my major or my discipline and that you acknowledge are non-existent, or it doesn't matter by the time end of my junior year? So there's a rise in private colleges. There's a rise in online school, and there's a rise in those that are saying, not doing it. Okay? So what do we do if your company says you have to have a degree? I'm on 2 advisory boards at WCTC, and I'm an adjunct there. And I'm well aware that their schools are talking about if you get 5 certificates, it'll equate to this. If you get 8 certificates, it'll equate to this. So they're now looking at the bundling of certifications. Okay? They're more entrepreneurial because there has been high tech and highly networked their entire life. So they don't always go to mom and dad to get their questions answered. They got resources all over the world. They have higher expectations than millennials. They are loyal to customers, not to businesses. Okay? So I hear my youngest son, who is 16, my husband will say, well, go to this store and get this. And he'll say, well, why would I go there? I'm going to go here. My husband said, we've always gone there. Yeah, but it's cheaper here and they're nicer. So, big on individuality. They have had social connection their whole life, and because their network is international, they have to have something unique about them so that they can stand out. So individuality is huge. Okay? And they're more global. Diversity is an expectation. So it had been said that the Gen Zers and interviewers are going to start asking about the footprint, the person footprint of your companies. They want to see where your diversity is. Okay? So interesting. So as you sit here, how many of you are bold enough to say, can't wait for them?
I have them because we're a grocery store.
Yeah, yeah.
14-year-olds.
And tell me, what's the unique thing that they bring?
They want to work so hard because they have stuff they want.
Yes.
And all of them want cars.
Yeah.
And so pretty much all my babies right now are 14-year-olds.
Remember I said, no longer wait your turn. No longer have to wait your turn. I want it, I'm going to figure out how to get it. And some people say that's selfish. Other people say, well, that's great. They know what they want, they go after it. Okay? Now, you don't have to answer this out loud, but how many of you in here are struggling with the millennials and the Gen Zers? You just can't get them to work the way you want them to work. Or you can't get them to think the way you think. For years, one of the most mature and powerful skills of a leader is flexibility. So let's just say you all work for me, and I'm your leader. I could require all of you, and I'm stepping in after 15 years of another leader, so I'm like, okay, new sheriff in town, here's how we're going to do things. And you're all going to have to change to meet my way. That's not a strong leader. A strong leader says, okay, I'm here, I'm trying to fill the shoes of this great person that I'm following. Here's a couple things about my style. Then I start flexing to you. I flex 12, 13, 14 times so that I can harness all your strengths instead of having you focus on trying to figure out what I want you to be. So what would it be like if you flexed for the generations in your workforce, in your team, in your company? Okay? And what might you learn in flexing? Okay? So it's an information overload, without a doubt. But here's where I really want to go. You know, they're all the same, we're all the same, but yet we're different. Okay? The 12 sticking points, you have this in your packet. Okay? And this comes right out of the book. Look at these. These have been around since the early 1900s with the traditionalists. Every generation has issues with the next generation in all 12 of these sticking points. Okay? And I am right here. Dress code. People often frown when I walk in a room because I don't feel I have to dress according to what they want. I want to be comfortable. So I wore a uniform for 30 years. Before that, I was a farmer. I wore boots. I wore Levi's from Fleet Farm. I wore a Carhartt jacket.
That was a uniform.
Yeah, and I was comfortable. Now I say, I am changing the dress code one appointment at a time. And if you don't want to do business with me because of how I dress, then thank you for acknowledging that now, because we were not going to be a good fit. But for some people, that's just a thorn in their side. Okay? So, 12 sticking points. In your packet, here's where I want you to be honest. On page 3, I'm going to kind of do this backwards. I want you to think about, take the first sticking point, communication. Okay? Where is this a sticking point with you, in your group, your team, your business, your organization, with different generations? Okay? And what are you going to do about it? Because it starts with you. We started out saying them and us. And I'm saying it's you. It starts with you right here today. So pick 3 of your key sticking points. So I would have picked dress code. Okay? Pick 3 sticking points that really, when you look at it, you go, yeah, they got to do better. Remember, it is, what am I going to do? So if yours is about training, okay, I don't want you in your head to say, yeah, they. I want you to say in your head, okay, me, what am I going to do that's going to be different? Okay? So pick 3, and then we're going to go backwards through this. Well, you know what? Let's do this now, because I see you all looking at this page anyway. Okay? These are right out of the book, and I put them in here so you have them. But let's just take a look at, is that blurry to you guys?
That's good.
Right there, okay. So let's look at communication. I'm just going to go off my sheet, okay, because it's small. So if you look at communication, and you start in the upper left with the traditionalists. Look at this. I write a memo, send a letter, listen to a speech, and call a meeting. Anybody write a memo by hand? Okay. Then look what the baby boomers say. I write a memo with the distribution list alphabetized. I pick up the phone and I set up a meeting. Then look at the Gen Xers. What are memos? I send an email or an instant message, search online for a summary of the speech, and meet virtually. And look at your millennials. I send a text message. Vowels are optional. Or instant message. I replay the speech online, and it's usually anytime I want. Or I connect on a social network site. You really just need to leave me a voicemail. I have to say to my boys, when your phone rings and it shows up, Mom, pick it up. Don't let it go to voicemail and say, I'll get it later. I'm calling you because I have something to say.
But
Or-
if you text them, they call right back.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Isn't that just crazy? So that gives you an example of the different generations. And you know what? These 2 generations had trouble with communication. And the traditionalists said the baby boomers are wrong. And then the boomers said the Gen Xers are wrong. Okay? So what are you going to go after? 3 of the sticking points. Which ones are you going after? And you're going to write an action item. So I'm going to give you a few minutes so you can just peruse through that, but I really want you on page 5, if you want to identify more than 3, please have at it. And by the way, you're going to start these today. And if you work last night, then you can start these tomorrow. So, and I am going to send, I have this in a document, this here. I'm going to send this to Peggy later today and have her blast it out to you so you've got it. It's great to use in meetings and with your teams. This has been a fun team building activity with several groups. So I'm going to assume you're a millennial.
Yes.
But you see how she said that? She squared up and she goes, yes. Yeah. And I said, sometimes people say millennials have an attitude. That's not an attitude. It's confidence. And we have beat them up. When I look back there, I should just see a piece of Swiss cheese because we've just shot them full of holes. Okay? They have been the most studied generation, the most beat up generation, and we've been the most inaccurate about that generation. Yeah. And so I'm hoping it's going to stop with the Zers. Okay, I only see a few writing. Come on. What are you going to do about you, not about them? So here's what I'll tell you. Reading through these pages, you won't find your answers. You'll just find what's been history. I want you to turn to this page, and I want you to say, this is what I am going to do. And you might even know right now who you're going to do it with. It could be internal. It could be with clients. It could be with fellow people in your industry. It could be with vendors. Okay? It could be with your spouse. I don't do a lot of couples coaching because I think that's a unique thing, but every now and then a couple will say, hey, can you just talk with us? And one of their issues always lies on this page. One of their sticking points, and especially if they're from different generations. Okay, so we're going to be brave here today. Okay? Because if you don't step into courage here, you're not going to do it when you leave. Who wants to share with us how you are an inhibitor? You're an adversary versus an ally for the generations in your business or your family. Go ahead.
Feedback.
Oh, how? Explain.
There's many of us in our company that are much older. We don't have a lot of the younger generation working for us. And the thought process is, if I don't tell you, assume you're doing good.
Oh, doesn't work well, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
The only time they get communication is when it's bad communication.
And that doesn't work either.
When it's good.
Right. Yeah, and so you,
So
yeah.
I'm trying when we do little kudos coupons, when a customer makes a point of telling us that an employee did something,
Yeah.
even if it's not special, if it's just what we expect them to do, still giving them the recognition.
Right.
So it's changing that thought. Don't assume that they know they did a good job. Tell them they did a good
Yes.
job. And a lot of my management isn't good at that. If I'm not yelling at you, assume you're doing good.
Oh, yeah.
No.
No, and they
You
want
know?
what I call flyby. I'm on my way through the aisle, I see you, hey, that display was fantastic, good job. Can't wait for tomorrow. Can't wait to hear what you do tomorrow. Good job with the team. What we call flyby. Because their world has been instant technology information, and now all of a sudden they got nothing from you, they're going to fill in their own blanks. Okay, who else wants to be brave? Yeah.
I've always had the texting thing when it all started. I always tell everybody, I said, you send me a text, I don't have an alarm on my phone, I'll see it in 3 minutes, 3 days, or 3 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I've learned that, unfortunately, that's the way a lot of people want to
Yeah.
communicate.
Okay.
And I can't figure out the without the vowels.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
So,
struggling with that.
so you're flexing to meet them.
Okay.
That sends a huge message to them. Yeah. And I'm a fast texter, and I leave out vowels, and my boys will text back and say, drinking again, Mom?
Yeah, or spell correct.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
We, instead of annual reviews, do coaching monthly or bi-monthly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And not just because I'm a coach, but thank you.
But as a manager, I still like, it seems like a chore to me, like something else I have to get done. So I have to figure out how to change that about myself. Like
Okay.
when we sit down and do it, it's good conversation, but I need to look at it as not a chore.
Okay, so if you don't have to run away afterwards, talk with me. I can help you with that. Key, let them lead it. Yeah. Yes.
We've done something different recently where we used to grade people, the old numbers. Now it's, it's exceeds, meets.
Oh, yeah.
meets
So we just keep
improvements, and
changing the
you
color of the
change
pig.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
but what I like now is that they're allowed to give us feedback too,
Yes.
which I like because that's powerful still.
Yeah.
So it's not just one-sided.
Yeah. Good for you. Glad to hear that. Really glad to hear that. All right. Now I want to know, those of you who haven't spoken yet, tell us a sticking point and what are you going to do to start to become an ally with that sticking point? Yes.
So I have fun at work. Sometimes I just get so focused on loan or something. So I've actually started, but I'm going to continue starting to make an effort to go up to the teller line and just small talk. How's everybody's weekend? And how's your day going? Do you need help with anything? And we started this small, my 5 favorite things.
Okay.
So it's favorite candy, favorite color, something. And then I'm just trying to make it, if they do something great, I have like a desk drawer of all my staff's favorite things, and I'm just
Okay.
bring
Yeah.
what they
And I love how you've said like 5 times, I'm trying. Because, we have to do what I call neurological road construction. We have pathways carved in our brain from our habits. We've had self-driving cars for years. We've just had people in the seat. How many of you have gotten home and go, oh, I'm home already? Okay, self-driving cars. You didn't even know where you were. Your subconscious just said, right, turn your blinker on, you're going here. Yeah. Now, we need to tear it up, just like they're tearing up a road. Bring in that front end loader, tear it up and say, here's what I'm going to do. But you use the word try, and just make it sincere. Okay, you were going to say something, Christopher.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna put a twist on this. So we're here from a kitchen and bath store, so we're kind of trying to get some tidbits on selling. And one of the things we run into is, like you said, people like to buy online. So we have a beautiful showroom. You can come in, you can touch product, you can feel it, you can use it, you can see it. And so often people will come in and kind of pick our brain for information, and then when we follow up on a quote, we give them, oh, we went on Amazon because we were able to get it a lot cheaper or a lot faster. And so just looking for maybe a little bit of feedback on how to capture those sales. Some people we can explain, we have a showroom, we cost money, we're
Right.
here to make money, we have to turn the lights on. And some people get it, other people are just focused on price.
They think
But-
we're in our gallery.
Yeah, but they don't have a problem coming in and using,
Yeah.
taking our knowledge and using our facility.
Yeah. Well, and here's what's interesting. We ran into this when I was at Quad Graphics, and we started tapping into the local colleges. Juniors and seniors need projects. Bring them in. Tell them what you need. Turn them loose. And don't go, oh, that's not what we wanted. Thank them for everything they do. Just turn them loose. We had some amazing technology advances at Quad Graphics because of MSOE, WCTC. There's some marketing companies that are hiring marketing students. Tap into them. They want a project. Because you know what? They're going to leave that project and they're going to go out and talk about you and your business. That's free advertising. We brought a team in from MSOE. You know what they wanted from us? They wanted a Quad Graphics t-shirt, and they wanted a Quad Graphics water mug. And then they wanted access to the facility anytime because many of them worked at night. And we turned them loose, and they had a blast. Okay, loved it. And that program is still going on. Okay. All right, one more. What are you going to do? Come on, you're all going to do something. What are you going to do? What are you going after? People. Okay, go for it.
I just try to lead by example. We always tell our managers that if their people are failing, it's because they're not getting what they need from you.
Yep.
So if I start walking around the store and I start telling people, you're doing a great job, you know, the ham looks really nice, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever they're doing, whatever their project is at that moment.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm hoping maybe my managers will see that and they'll maybe take a cue
Okay.
to start doing the same thing.
All right. Good. Okay, what is your name? Danica. Millennial Danica. Come on up. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Good. So you're going to be part of my team.
All right.
No, they didn't tell you?
No,
Oh, I'm excited.
me too. What are we doing?
Well, we got several projects, but it's mainly going to be in the field of continuous improvement. Now, you don't have a continuous improvement background,
No, I don't.
but that's why I picked you. Because those of us that do, we're stuck in our way of thinking. We need new perspective. We need challenges. You come with a different set of eyes than we have, and that's good. Okay? So, here's what I want to know. Okay? What do you need when you come into work every day so that it's not, oh, I got to go to work? What do you need?
Okay. That's hard. I guess guidance.
What kind?
What I'm doing, why, what are the expectations?
Perfect. So we have like roles and responsibilities. You're going to kind of be a mixture,
Okay.
but we'll sit down and go over that. But what I want you to really understand is these aren't guardrails that you have to stay between. You know, we all have to answer to someone. And lucky for you, you get to answer to me. But I have to answer to someone too. Okay? What would make you go home at night and say, I can't wait for tomorrow? Okay. Okay, what would make you go home at night and say, I wish I didn't have to go back tomorrow?
Not being successful and not meeting an expectation.
Ah, what's successful for you?
Feeling that I contributed in some way.
Nice. How do you, up to this point in your career, how have you most contributed? You can make something up.
I have no idea.
Okay. What do you do for fun outside of work?
Fish.
You fish, morning or night?
Both.
Awesome. Okay, so I don't fish, but I work out in the morning, and sometimes with children it doesn't work out as planned. We start at 8. Don't break a leg getting here at 8 if the fish are biting. Okay? I'm okay with, just send me a text and say 8:30, just so we know, and we're not sending people out looking for you in the marsh. You know? Yeah. I'm not real big on set hours, but I'm real big on knowing where each other is, because if clients call and I answer your phone, I need to know if you're here and I can get you, or if I just have the conversation. So in other words, I don't babysit, and please don't ask me to. However, if the system gets abused, I can get a little ugly, because we all own this company and we're taken from our own bottom line. Okay? So what type of leader am I? Non-traditional. I have some things that I believe in, but they don't have to be your beliefs. If you're not happy with my leadership, I'm not a mind reader. I need you to say something. But do it privately. You know, don't blast me in front of others. And if there's something you like and you want more of, let me know. And if you see patterns, because your lenses are different than mine, that are good, bad, or indifferent, let me know. Because we're in this together. I just happen to be farther up on the hierarchy than you are. Doesn't mean I'm better. It just means I've been here longer, I've seen a whole lot more, and we call that wisdom. But my wisdom doesn't always work. Okay? So I kind of pounced this upon you, but I want to get together again in 2 weeks. I want you to put it on our calendar. Give us an hour. And the weather's going to be nice, so I'd like to walk. I don't like to just sit like this. And I want to know at a deeper level why you're here, what you need, and what would make you walk away tomorrow. Okay? And you are free to ask me any questions you want. And here's what I'll tell you. I'll answer all of them, but if they're personal, I have the option to not answer. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay. And, oh, do you get offended with nicknames?
Yes.
Oh, that's good to know, because I have a nickname for everyone. And I'm going to mess it up, so just let me know. Okay? That's going to be hard for me to break, so we're going to have to work on that.
All right.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're here.
Me too.
Okay. How long was that? Yeah. What did I learn? Yeah. I just.
Next meeting should be fishing.
Yeah. And I don't like fish. Yeah, I don't like fishing, but I'll go. Yeah. I just asked. I didn't assume. And you know what I so want to tell her, but didn't tell her in that first meeting? Please don't feel like you have to wear a dress to work. Because you will never see me in one except my son's wedding. Or yeah. So it's about building a relationship. That simple. Okay? And I opened the door to say, I'm going to do things that might you not like. Let me know. It doesn't mean I'm going to change or I can change, but she's going to bring a new level of awareness. Okay? So, for the sake of time, I want you to look at this. In the past, our parents and our grandparents, they worked for a paycheck. And my satisfaction, it was about my boss, it was my annual review, it was about my weaknesses, and it's my job. Here's where it's at now. What is my purpose? What about my development? My coach, my ongoing conversations, my strengths in my life. I have to, Danica, right? Yes. I have to get to know the whole Danica, not just the work Danica, because it brings all the pieces together. Remember I said every leader is rooted in a person, every person's rooted in a life. I can't coach just the CEO, have to coach the whole person. I can't just coach Danica, my teammate. I have to coach the whole person, the fisher woman, the dress woman. You know, let's say she likes Indian food, the whole thing. I got to coach it all and get to know it all. Okay. So I'm going to skip this, but here's what I want to talk about. Performance management versus coaching. Okay? Start coaching and mentoring. Stop managing performance. Because when you manage performance, it all has to ooze right up to the strategy. And I bet you I did 50 strategies at Quad Graphics, and they were beautiful. Because we put them in this model, they look great. I bet less than 25% of them created any action. So every now and then I'll use the word strategy. I've thrown it out. Where you at? Where you want to go? Let's just create a roadmap, just like we're going on vacation. You're not where you want to be. What are the pain points? Let's strategically pull this apart and analyze the business and see where things are at. Yeah, we're going to do that, but we're not going to use the word. Don't manage them. And if you're using reviews or management performance or annual reviews, change the verbiage. The reason I just said to this company, I will not create a performance evaluation for you. I will help you develop a growth plan. Okay? So here's what they're looking for. Performance coaching. Unlock their potential to maximize their performance, which maximizes your team. And is it going to look different? Yes, it is. Is it going to sound different? Yes, it is. But I say turn them loose, and then, if I run into this table, it's going to hurt. Just round the edges. Round the edges on their behavior. Okay? To make it fit the values of the company. If I ask reviewers to round the edges, I'm going to know when I run into the table, but it's not going to hurt so bad. Same thing with our behaviors and our habits. Just round the edges. And that's all I do as a coach when people say, hey, I don't want them to change that behavior. However, okay, let's just round the edges. Thanks. Okay. So again, they want you to focus on them. If you're coaching me, what are my strengths? What are my goals? What's my voice? How many times did I ask Danica a question? I never once critiqued what she said. I just listened. And my purpose, we're going to get to that next week at the meeting. Why is she here? What's your purpose in life? Where are you going? And if you grow to what you want with your time with us, what will that look like? She didn't have all the answers, but I planted the seed. She's going to come back next week ready. I am stretching her to think differently, and I'm learning from her. I have a 10-year gap between son number 2 and son number 3. I have a 13-year gap between son number 1 and son number 3. Do I parent differently? You bet. When I found out I was pregnant with son number 3, I'm like, I'm 39.7 years old. I freaked out. Then 2 weeks later, I'm like, this is a gift. How many parents get a chance to throw out what didn't work with the older 2, bring in something new? And when I started looking at it as a gift, it is. Every day, his perspective on life, sometimes I just, whoa, what did you say? And I stop and I go, explain your thought process. And when I just listen, I'm like, ooh, maybe I ought to try that. Listen, dialogue, facilitation, clarity, accountability. I never once said anything about accountability, but I bet you she got the idea there's going to be accountability here. And we'll talk about what does that look like for me. Okay? So, I could go on and on here. And I have a whole lot more information in case you ask questions, but are you going to use the generations as an ally or an adversary? And you're going to get completely different results. And it starts with you. I don't want you to be sitting here thinking, oh, my boss, my team, here's what we can do. It starts with you. What are you going to do? And you're going to have to do some neurological road construction. You're going to have to listen. You're going to have to bite your tongue. You're going to have to ask. Be curious. Say, now that is interesting. Educate me on that. Or I have never heard that. Talk a little bit about that. And in my head, I might be going, dear Lord, we're paying him. But I'm not saying a word. And when he's done, I'm like, isn't that interesting? And I might say, hey, can you come talk to another team for me? They need that exactly. How do you think he feels? Heard, appreciated, used. Okay? So, again, there's a lot here, but here's where I want to get to. Leadership begins with you and it ends with you, but it's not about you. Okay? It's about those you lead. So it begins with you because you have to know yourself and who you are. It ends with you because it's not about you. It's about you coaching and mentoring and leading others to their ultimate performance, to be better than they thought they could be. And along the way, you're going to become better too. Okay? It's about those that you lead. And every day, every single day, you make the people you work with feel something. And when they feel something, they then go and say something. So what are those that you work with saying about you? Are you brought up at the dinner table and is it a good thing? Or is it not a good thing? Okay? When my boys were younger, we would play high, low, nice at the dinner table. What'd you do? What was your high for the day? What was your low for the day? What'd you do nice? And in the beginning, when they were in 2nd, 3rd grade, they made stuff up. And my husband and I knew it, but it started the conversation. And it planted the seed. By month 2, they came with their guns ready. And we'd sit down and they'd go, okay, my high for the day was, my low for the day was, and here's what I did nice. They were no longer making it up. They were actually living it and doing it. And now conversations have evolved to things in the world. And every now and then when it's quiet, last night we all had dinner together. My 28-year-old son goes, so Mom, what was your high for the day? We started that when he was 5 years old. I said my high for the day is right here, right now, sitting with the family. So I want to show you something here. That the strengths lie in the differences, not in similarities. Okay? Embrace the differences. And if there's an issue with it, understand it's your issue, first and foremost. Step back, take a breath. As long as it's not diametrically different than your values and the beliefs of your company, what can you do with it? Okay? So today's sticking points are tomorrow's resolutions. It's been that way since the traditionalists, and it will continue to be that way. Every generation will have sticking points and have frustrations with the next. I want you to fill out all 12 of those on the sheet. Take the time to think about it. Okay? And I know by your facial expressions today that some of you are like, ooh, yeah, I do that. Ooh, I got to do that? I'm not sure I can do that. Okay? And here it is, the next generation. See them, hear them, grow them, and utilize them because they are our future. They're your legacy. And those of you that own your own business, they're going to carry it on. Okay? Okay, so as I always end, and the reason you have the rock, I want you to put this at a place where you see it every day. Okay? We as choosers have the right to choose, but once the choice is chosen, the choice controls the chooser. So choose wisely. Okay? And if you get stuck, you have questions about the generations in your workforce, you've got all my information, just call. I'll slap you back into reality. Good. So thank you for investing in yourself after spring break to be here today, and really go forward with this and make some changes. Okay? Thanks. You're welcome. Thank you.